There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM. With even more exclusive content, with over 150 channels in your vehicle, including the widest, deepest variety of music, ad-free. Root for your team. Get news. Listen to whatever makes you laugh. And hear all about your favorite stars. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels filled with music and enjoy favorite shows with SiriusXM Video. Thousands of hours of shows and performances on demand. What you love is on now.
The premium Italian car audio manufacturer known as Audison has had a busy weekend. Yes, they were busy announcing a brand new line of products in the DSP amplifier category, and we've got product expert Ken Ward in studio with us today to tell us all about it. This is CMA Showcase presented by SiriusXM, Audison, and it starts now. Hey guys, what's going on? And thanks for tuning in to this edition of CMA Showcase presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. And of course, since this is a showcase, we've got to talk about brand new product, and it doesn't get more fresh off the press than we have here today. K-Fest Orlando just went on this weekend, and the camp at Audison was busy launching a brand new product line that we're super excited to learn about today. And we, like I said in our intro, we've got product expert Ken Ward to give us all the details that we'll need to know about it. But before that, I'd like to invite to our studio the Canadian authorized distributor for Audison products is Automobility, and their product manager, Mr. Steve Colomb. Hey, Steve, what's going on?
Hey, Ben.
Big weekend this weekend. I mean, we've kind of been working towards this. We had some hints, some inside information, knowing that, you know, the Electromedia and Audison Group has been hard at work creating something new. Finally, we get to learn about it. I've seen some social media posts about it. But before we get into all that stuff, let's first understand the offering here. Automobility, you guys are the distributor for Audison. Where does a brand like Audison fit within your current catalog?
Well, it's been just over 2 years since 2020. We got the line, and so far it's been great. A lot of OEM integration products. You know, again, we mentioned it before. We'll mention it in the next few years as well. That, you know, DSP is the future of car audio, and we're very well served with Audison in that area. So.
Very much so. I think you're not only well served, you're well equipped, and from based on what I've seen so far, future proof. Yeah. The future looks bright, because I think the future is what the theme is going to be about today. All right. I know what I'm excited about, but let me get your opinion first. What are you most excited about? I think it's going to be obvious, but I'm going to ask you anyways.
Well, as you may have seen, you know, over the weekend, there probably was some, you know, shots over social media and stuff. As you said it, you know, the guys at the Electromedia, Ken Ward, were at Knowledge Fest, introduced a new line of, you know, Forza amplifiers and new softwares. They had a car on in spot. So, no, it was a busy weekend, exciting news, and can't wait to hear about it from Ken.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to hear about it, but I also have some questions because, you know, this DSP is not new for Audison. Obviously, in fact, I'll go ahead and say it, probably one of the, you know, original pioneers of DSP within car audio category. So for me to hear words like game changer or next level or future proof, you know, has me asking questions as to what makes this level of not only product. From what I understand, there's going to be some software involved as well. What makes that, you know, the next level, next step for Audison moving forward, and what makes it different? Of course, you know, I'll do my job. I'm going to ask the questions, and we'll do our job first by listening. So without further ado, let's go ahead and invite the guy with all the secrets, the guy who knows and has the goodies, Mr. Ken Ward, who is the International Technical Marketing Manager. Say that 4 times fast for Electromedia. Let's bring him into the studio. What's going on, Ken?
Hey, Ben. Hey, Steve. How you doing?
Well, I'll tell you, that was probably a pretty busy weekend for you, wasn't it?
It's been a whirlwind few weeks. Just before I went out to Florida, I went out to the mothership in Italy and did some work out there. On the way back, I stopped and saw some dealers in the UK, and then uh, this has all been very, very positive. So I am excited.
That must be so interesting when you get to connect with dealers, worldwide, global, different trends, different type of customers. But I mean, when it comes to it, car audio is car audio, and DSP, would you agree, is just as integral in other parts of the world as is in North America?
Everyone seems to run into similar problems, and everyone is looking for similar solutions. And so the solutions that we've been working on have been appealing to techs, no matter what market they're in.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Solutions for all technicians and car audio situations worldwide. All right, Ken, let's cut to the chase. K-Fest this weekend, big announcements. Steve kind of dropped it right there. Forza is kind of the clutch word I heard coming out of it. What went down at the Audison booth at K-Fest this weekend? What's the big news all about?
So I'll walk you through it. It'll take a moment. Years ago, we introduced our first DSP amplifiers. And at the time, there were almost no DSP amplifiers on the market. And those amplifiers are under our Prima brand. And as you know, our Prima brand has a lot of OEM speakers, has a lot of subwoofer products. It's a really packed sub-brand for us. So one of the things we heard from the market about Prima was that they liked the feature set. Some dealers wanted a model that had more power. So we came out with a model called the APF 8.9, which basically went from 35 watts by 8. We brought out a model with 85 watts by 8. And the nickname for that model has been the Forza, because the Italian for force or power. And that was the hook, if you will, for this new amplifier. And that amplifier has become our most popular DSP product. It's been our most successful DSP product. And as you mentioned, we've had a few. So what we've just introduced is our new line of DSP amplifiers, which we are calling Forza as a brand. So the amplifier that we've been referring to as Forza for quite a few years isn't in that brand. So it's an all new brand. So that amp's going to continue on for a while, and we're going to come out with some new amplifiers. And essentially, it's a family of amplifiers that have built on our experience with DSP, with Prima, and with standalone, and is also built on our advances in software development, our advances in OEM integration, and our deeper understanding of how we want technicians to be able to tune the car.
A brand new series of amplifiers. And when I first heard Forza, I'm like, but wait a minute, I know that amplifier. That's already been out for a while. So that's the clarity right there that we needed. It's a new series, a family of amplifiers under the brand name Forza. What was the feedback? I think Steve mentioned there was a demo vehicle there. I think I've seen some pictures of it. I'm sure you were right there when people sat in, listened, touched, feel for the first time. What is some of the feedback you've had so far?
It is really nice to be able to have the demo vehicle, and at some cases, actually, at some dealers in the UK, I actually had a chance to tune the vehicle in front of dealers or use the OEM analysis in front of dealers. But the response was just great. On Friday, we did our launch, and on Saturday, we did a deep dive technical training. And the feedback has just been positive left and right.
Amazing.
So I can't wait to get these into dealers' hands.
Well, before we get them into dealers' hands, let's learn about them. Let's find out exactly what these new toys are all about. Okay, break it out for us. What are we about to learn over the course of the next 20, 30 minutes?
Well, I mentioned that it's a family of amplifiers. Now, it turns out that developing new electronics that use DSP chipsets right now, there are a lot of headwinds involved. There's a lot of competition for a reduced amount of DSP chip manufacturing, and OEMs are competing with us for the chips that we're trying to get. So we're going to do a phased introduction of 9 amplifiers over the rest of this year and part of next year. And the amplifiers we're going to start with, there's 3 models, and I'll go into these in more detail, but we're going to come out with a smaller 8-channel, a large 5-channel, and for the first time from Audison, a 12-channel. And those will all be managed with completely new software. And that software has a lot of capabilities built into it that we used to have to use a third-party tool or a separate tool like our BitTune to accomplish. Now, later this year, we will introduce some companion amplifiers that don't have the bit processing built in, but they're designed to use the bit processing that's built into the bit amplifiers. Our current family of Prima amplifiers have a single preamp output that is DSP processed. All of the new Forza amplifiers have 6 preamp outputs for an external amplifier or amplifiers, except for our 12-channel. Our 12-channel only has 2 preamp output channels. Everything else has 6 preamp output channels. So the idea is that you can use a sub amp if you have a large sub application, or you could use a 2-way rear with a 4-channel amplifier. You have a lot of different flexibility in one DSP processor with amplification and whatever amplifiers you're choosing to combine externally.
Well, first of all, you had me at 12-channel, so you could have stopped right there. The second part is we're definitely going to dive in, and I'm going to pick your brain on maybe coming up with a few of the system-built scenarios that are now possible based on these new configuration of amplifiers that we're offering. So without further ado, and I'd love to give you every opportunity here, we're going to give you the stage, Ken, and we're going to learn all about the new Audison Forza family of amplifiers.
All right.
Take it away.
Let's see here. So that is the tagline that we're letting people know, is that we see this as a solution line. Bit powered solutions means that we've got a bit amplifier and then other powered products as well, and you can mix them together to get what you need. This is the first line of amplifiers that out of the box are completely high-res audio certified from Audison. The one exception is the sub amp, because it's limited to only 400 cycles of range, so it's not going to be high-res certified. That the math just doesn't work out there. Fully bridgeable is something that we have had in our amplifiers for a very long time, but we've noticed a trend with some DSP amplifier companies to not use a fully bridgeable architecture. And when we talk to our dealers, we've discovered that the expectation is that everything is bridgeable. And running into something that isn't bridgeable, usually you don't find out, you don't realize it until it breaks the system design you were trying to put into place. So all of our amplifiers are fully bridgeable, except of course the subwoofer mono amplifier, which is just a single channel. Now, what I want to do here, let's see here. This is the new Forza, and this is the 12 channel as an example. And I'm going to show you a few things about size in a moment, but this uses the industrial design language from our SR amplifiers that came out a few years ago in terms of the edgeless design. We have 2 sizes, and I'll go into that in a moment, but you can see that everything connects on one side. And well, here, let me do this. All AF bit amplifiers use our new dual power design power supply. Here's how that works. Audison has been a leader in amplifier power supply for many years. And if you've ever looked at our Thesis amplifiers or even our Voce amplifiers, they have settings where you can select whether you're going to be fully regulated, loosely regulated, that sort of thing. Now, at this price point, amplifiers are usually loosely regulated, and that's the approach that we used for Forza. That gives us some good dynamic headroom. Dynamic headroom is the ability to generate extra power into a constant load for a brief period of time. And if you do a stiffly regulated design, you get 0 dynamic headroom. But we have a second power supply in here that is just for the DSP chipset, and it's stiffly regulated. So over a broad range of voltages, such as the low voltage conditions that happen during a stop-start event in modern stop-start cars, our DSP microprocessor is going to be getting a constant voltage supply and that will keep it stable even with modern cars. Now, the all channels driven approach is another thing that goes back to Audison's tradition of high fidelity. The high fidelity way to rate an amplifier for many years has been drive all the channels with a constant load and then figure out how much power you're getting per channel. We've seen a trend with some companies only driving one channel and listing the power output as if it can make that power into all channels at the same time. So we've just started calling our methodology all channels driven. And you put that next to fully bridgeable, and it means you have a really an amplifier that you can depend on to sound great. Now, OEM integration, our current DSP amplifiers have 6 analog inputs, and we've run into some new premium audio systems that require more than 6 analog inputs to really navigate. So we now have 8 analog inputs on every single one of our bit amplifiers, and you can add an additional 4 analog input channels with a optional expansion card. I mentioned that we've got the 6 pre-outs on everything but the 12 channel. I mentioned that we're high-res certified. Because we have a Toslink input that will handle high-resolution streams, we consider these amplifiers rated full DA HD. You can go into it with a Toslink that carries high-res, such as a Toslink out of our Beacon, and you can have high-res all the way through to the speakers. So obviously, we've got our USS speaker loading in here that prevents any kind of muting and prevents a load to the factory output channel that keeps it nice and tame. A new thing for Audison, we do have our traditional configuration wizard where you select the inputs that you're connecting to, and you select the outputs that you need, and an automated assignment of input to output takes place. But we've also included a fully active mixer that allows you to route things however you like. And this comes in really handy in a couple of corner conditions that people have run into, such as multi-channel upmix systems that have multiple sets of rear speakers. One set of rear speakers is in the rear doors and is just for the rear passengers and is predominantly a stereo pair. And the other set of rear speakers are in a rear deck or a D-pillar, and they're ambient speakers, kind of like in a home theater system, to create the effect of the room being larger. And we don't want to mix those together. If we're going to retain both of them, we want to keep them separated. And so the routing lets you do that. Now, we have had DEQ in all of our bit products, and we've had D-phase and D-time in our Virtuoso product and our Bit 1 HD product for a number of years. But this is the first time that we've had DEQ, D-phase, and D-time, not just the automated processes, but if you're trying to get just the nth degree out of your OEM integration, we have fully manual modes as well that will allow you to make sure that you've compensated for factory equalization, factory crossover points, factory phase processing, and factory delay before you tune the car. What we found is that you need to be able to confirm that your signal is flat and full range and time and phase coherent, or you're going to spend a lot of time tuning the car that doesn't make any sense. Now, in order to accomplish that, we have our ERTA, electrical input RTA, and that allows you to look at any input channel without having to connect a third-party tool. So this is not the first time that we've had an electrical input RTA, but this is the first time we've had it in this class of product. And so you're able to look at the signal, make sure it's connected properly, because if you've got this tweeter signal coming in on an input that you assigned as a woofer signal, it's really important to catch that before you go any farther with your installation. But it also allows you to confirm and even improve, if you like, the results of the DEQ process, and make sure that if you need to run D-phase. So to do that, we have input equalizer, which can be set up in either parametric or graphic mode. And if you run it in parametric mode, it has phase equalization as well. And that's something we'll talk about more in a moment. Now we have channel by channel equalization. That's something that we have in all of our DSP amplifiers, and our dealers have told us that they really like that. But we've also added a final tuning EQ, which is very similar to the final EQ in the Virtuoso product. And what that does is once you have tuned the car and gotten your left side and your right side matching in response, and there's still some changes that you want to make, but you don't want to ruin the left-right match that you've just painstakingly arrived at, you can use this final tuning EQ, and it will affect all the channels at the same time. And that's going to save a lot of time during the tuning process. Speaking of the tuning process, we've got an acoustic RTA built in with your USB microphone. And once again, this isn't the first time that we've had this in a software product. We've had this in our Bit Virtuoso product and also in a product under another one of our brands. But this is the first time we've had it at this price point and this level of product. You can plug in a USB microphone and the RTA appears within the screen that you set the equalizer with. So you don't have to alt tab back and forth between two screens. You don't have to find a second monitor and plug it in. It's very intuitive. We have an automated tuning algorithm called Percept Lite, which will be supported in conjunction with our BitTune if you want to use automated tuning. We have something for everybody in this tuning offering. If you want to do manual tuning, we've got lots and lots of tools for that. And if you want to do automatic tuning, we have tools for that as well. Now, there's a couple of hardware ports on there for products. This is the first time that we've had a dedicated Maestro port on the for Maestro AR. In the past, when we added Maestro AR support to our previous DSP amplifiers, we did it through an adapter that where we tried to bring the Maestro signal in and translate it into the signal emulating our DRC controller. It didn't work as smoothly as we would have liked, and so we have built the high speed, full speed Maestro serial data port into the design from the beginning. We also have a connection for our Beacon high-res streaming receiver with absolute volume. And all this is managed with the BitDrive software. So I'm going to talk to you quite a bit about the BitDrive software in a moment. The compact size amplifier that I've put up here, it's about 5 1/4 by about 7 3/4. This is roughly the size of the current Prima amplifiers, and it's 1.85 inches tall. And there will be 3 compact amplifiers, an 8-channel bit, a 4-channel bit, and then a 4-channel companion. Now, when we go to the max size, this one is just over 6 inches by about 9.5. And it's the same height, 1.85. If you're putting multiple amplifiers underneath a false floor, they're exactly the same height. So that makes things a little simpler. You can think of these amplifiers as basically corresponding to the Forza unit, the APF 8.9 bit that's in the line right now. So essentially, we've delivered these products within the same footprints, basically, that we had before. And there will be 3-bit amplifiers and 3 mono amplifiers in the Max family. So I'm going to break down how the model number works for a moment. The AF stands for Audison Forza. The C will be there if it's a compact unit, and the M will be there if it's a Max chassis. Then we will have the number of amplified channels with a dot, followed by the number of DSP process channels. Now, I want to call out here that we don't take any channels and send them to both places. So some DSP amplifiers will take 2 channels, amplify them, and then also run them out a pair of RCA jacks. And they're not unique, separated channels. We actually list the number of unique channels in this line right here. Then it'll say bit if it's a DSP amplifier, and it'll just have a capital D for class D if it's a companion for the bit amplifier. So this is how you crack the code when you look at a model number. And here's the 3 models you're going to see at the initial launch. Now, as you know, there are some headwinds right now if you're trying to build electronics, especially if you're trying to build DSP electronics. So these are the 3-bit products that we're going to launch initially: the 12-channel, the compact 8-channel, and the new 5.11 5-channel. And that one is going to be the one that we see in North America. That one was specifically developed for North America. We may see a couple of the 8s and the 12s, but really that 5-channel is the one that Audison is going to bring to North America in volume to make sure that it goes where it's going to be most appreciated. Our previous 5-channel amplifier sounded great. It didn't have a lot of power. It was designed for a different application. This 5.11 has 100 watts by 4 going into a 4 ohm load, all channels driven, RMS. And then it has a sub channel that's 600 watts into 2 ohms, RMS. So it's a very, very powerful amplifier that we think our North American dealers are going to use in a lot of trucks and a lot of SUVs. We think it fits the way the North American market designs systems. Now, later in 2022, there are some companion amps that are going to be coming out. There's a 6-channel that's 135 by 6. There's a big 4-channel. There's a small 4-channel that, if I remember correctly, is 90 by 4. And then there's a sub amp. Now that sub amp is probably going to be pretty close to the end of the year because we do have quite a few of the APF1Ds in stock, which are very, very powerful amps that are in the similar form factor. Then next year, we're going to see the big 8-channel, and sometime next year, that big 8-channel will replace the venerable APF 8.9 bit, but not right away, not till next year. And then the compact 4-channel will come out as well. So we have 9 amplifiers. There's compact and max divided there, as you can see, and then there's initial launch later this year in 2023. A lot of moving parts. So I want to show you the software real quick. There's a configuration wizard that does pre-configured routing, and it has preloaded crossover filters, and it has fully active routing. Let me show you some screenshots here. This right here is the new software. And we've got the map of the car on the left, which is a traditional Audison element. We've got the output levels across the top, and then we've got equalization at the bottom. Now, if I go into the configuration wizard, and you can see here, I've started the configuration wizard. I should point out that these screenshots are from a pre-production version, and it will be slightly different than this when we release the production software. So here I'm going to select, I'm going to go from user-defined over to front, rear, and sub for my OEM inputs. And once I select that, you can see it's automatically assigned front left, front right, rear right, and subwoofer. Now, if I didn't connect those in that order, I can change it, but that's the automatic designation. Same thing on the outputs after I get past my optical setup. If I go in here and select active 2-way front plus rear plus sub, it's going to show us the automatic assignment of channels. And if you want to change them, you can. Now, if I go in and select speakers, we're going to preload all of the Audison speakers into the crossover settings. So once you select Audison speakers, we'll put in our recommended crossover points. You can change them if you like. We have had some requests to put other speakers in there. So we're going to go ahead and put Hertz speakers in there as well, and that'll probably be it. Now, here you can see more speaker options. Now, if I go here, I can enter in all my distances. If I don't know my distances yet, I can skip it and do it later. And I can type them in. I don't have to click the arrow key anymore. So once we get it all loaded, you can see here that we've got this list on the left. There's an icon where I can look at the map of the car or the list of the car. And going across here on the outputs, I've got each of my outputs labeled and color-coded. Whenever I select any of those outputs, the theme color and the background of the UI changes to match the output channel I've selected. I know when I tune a car, sometimes I waste time trying to tune the wrong channel. This is a mechanism to remind the user which channel is selected all the time. Now, here's my outputs. You can see I've got a mute button and a solo button and an edit button, so I can go in and change my titles if I like. And then when I go here, here's the mixer, and I'm going to blow this up. You can see that we've got a polarity input inversion button, and then we've got some arrow keys, and we've also got a field you can type in, and you can mix all the input channels on the left to all the output channels across the top any way you like. Now, there's a polarity inversion button. Now here's the input RTA that's going to show you how to compare for phase and polarity if you want to do that manually. This is a door speaker. This is actually measured off of a Honda radio that I use as a demo. And this is the woofer output out of that Honda radio. And this is an actual corrected signal that I did using the manual input EQ. I just wanted to see if I could do it. And within the limits of random pink noise, that's a very flat signal. I was very, very happy. When you go in here, you can select different kinds of filters: EQ, EQ peak filters, shelf filters, notch filters, and then phase inverting all pass filters are all available when you go into the input equalizer. Now, when you go in and do summing and dephase, we can sum channels together to see if you've got a smooth full range stereo signal. Here, this is kind of a mock-up, although I just tested this with my Toyota radio earlier today, and it worked great. Here's the left channel, here's the right channel. When I add them together, I get a big hole here that indicates a phase problem. Let me show you that again. Boom, this big hole just appeared right here, and that's a phase problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and add an all-pass inversion filter right here so that everything is nice and smooth. And let's see how it looks. Go in here and boom, I've got EQ and phase corrected all the way across. So this is an example of the electrical RTA, and you can see we've got the display for the acoustic RTA, right in here. So I can use the graphic EQ or the parametric EQ, however I like. And then the final tuning EQ, which is up here in the right corner, I can go in and select exactly what changes I want to make. I've got 5 parametric bands to play with, and I've got this list of wine tasting words across the top. So after we do that, I can set up my controller. And other than that, Ben, I got nothing.
Well, I like how you say, other than that, I got nothing. And the fact that there was a lot of game-changing elements there in itself, I've got a lot of questions for you, Ken, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So let's go ahead and take this screen down. Let's get into discussion. All right. So the first thing I'd like to point out is how nice of you guys to include other speaker crossover points other than Audison, and that you went out of your way, really far out of your way, and included the Hertz catalog. I thought that was very nice of you.
We're happy to help.
Okay, let's take a look at this from a high level first. All right, we're talking new amplifiers, the new software. What does this mean now, as far as all the other current platforms that currently exist? Because if I got that right, what is there, 2 other ones other than that right now within Audison?
I don't think I caught that question exactly.
Let me ask the question again. What does this mean for all the other current platforms of software moving forward? Is that a clear question?
Oh, okay. I understand. I should have mentioned that, and thanks for bringing that up. This software is intended to be as future-proof as software can be. It was designed with a handshake architecture so that we can actually use the software to manage bit products we haven't thought of yet. And when we connect them, they'll have a handshake process where the software will learn what the hardware can do and only offer that to the technician. So we are hopeful that for a very long time, this is the last desktop icon from Audison that you add to your laptop.
All right, so it's a full architecture, kind of future-proof, ready for updates and all these new features as we move forward. We're really only scratching the surface, as I understand it. How will this platform make it easier for technicians? I mean, you showed a couple cool things there, but if you had to list off a couple top, takeaways.
The first thing that I would say is that we have upgraded the OEM integration tools to match what we see OEMs doing now. We see a lot more phase manipulation than we used to. We see a more amplified systems with active crossovers than we used to. And so if a dealer either makes an error with polarity or runs into one of these phase manipulated systems and doesn't realize it, the tuning process never ends. And the best way to have the tuning process end in the quoted amount of time is to start with a known good signal. So we've got tools to confirm and correct the signal that in the past have only been available in Virtuoso. And personally, I think that some of the tools we've built into Forza and BitDrive are even a little bit beyond virtuoso in terms of OEM integration, thanks to what we've realized some of the OEMs are starting to do. The other part of that is when you're tuning the car. When you're tuning the car, we've got phase filter inversion available in the outputs, and we've got more parametric bands and the final EQ. So we think that you're going to be able to get the sonic result you're looking for with less work and have a better result for your customer.
On that note, can you think of, you've played with enough vehicles, Ken, I'm sure you'll be able to answer this one. Can you think of a scenario of a recent vehicle that any of what you just mentioned would really come into play and really be handy?
Yeah, I can think of one. The 2019 and up Chevrolet Silverado and GMC Sierra, they use an almost identical Bose system as the 2014 to 2018 models, but there are no active preamp solutions for the 2019 and up units because GM changed their network technology. So we get dealers quite regularly who want to know how to upgrade the customer. Well, there's two different paths that you could take with our 5-channel Forza amplifier and that vehicle. You could hook it up and pass everything through without summing and just use equalization and power and better speakers. And you would retain the factory 2-seat presentation with a minimal amount of time and without the hundreds and hundreds of dollars of hardware that you would need for the preamp device. You can now put that into better speakers, which is really how we make our customers happy, is with better speakers. The other thing you could do is you could bill for a little bit more time on the integration side, and you could actually undo the Bose phase processing channel by channel. And then you could present a in-phase driver stereo presentation, a 1-seat stereo presentation, just as if you had added that hundreds and hundreds of dollars preamp, but instead you've used the tools inside the DSP amp you were already going to use. And finally, if you end up thinking the chime in there is too loud, and I know a lot of people like to complain that the GM chime is too loud, and I think there's some reasons that when you do it the way we want you to do it, it won't be too loud. But if I'm wrong, there's a notch filter built into our product where you can go in and knock that chime down quite a bit if that's what has to happen. I don't think that you're going to need to use it that way.
I don't even know if I could have thought of a better example. That was a perfect example. Thank you, Ken. Let's talk about system designs. Man, there's a couple. As you were talking about the different amplifiers that are coming, and I know they're not all out yet, but let's pretend they were all in front of us, okay, for a second. What are some cool system designs that you've been thinking about now that you have this type of hardware to play with?
Well, one of the things that I've been looking at is in BMWs that have Harman Kardon, our 12-channel amp is really a natural for upgrading BMWs with Harman Kardon, and we're going to be doing that soon. We've actually already done BMWs with our 8-channel amp, and that has worked out really well. But I think the one that makes me the most excited is really getting that 5-channel amp into different customers' cars. Because the traditional way to use a 5-channel amp in North America is front-rear sub. But if you go front-rear sub and then somebody comes in and wants to upgrade their system, you can add a 4-channel amp and you can go active on the tweeters in the front. You can go active on the tweeters front and rear. You can go with an active 3-way front by adding a 4-channel, just a regular 4-channel amplifier. And we'd like it to be our companion amplifier. But if you use a 4-channel amp, say on the mids and the tweeters, and then you use the integral 4 channels on the mid bass and the rears, and then you have the sub, you've got a pretty flexible model on your shelf that you can use in a lot of different ways.
From a 12-channel perspective, because I'll be honest, I've never had the opportunity to play with anything above 8 channels. Do you think people will be keen on that, especially to build custom, like full active systems? Is that what the purpose of that amp is for?
My feeling is that the primary purpose of that amplifier is when you go into a premium vehicle. I know, for example, that we've got BMWs with 9 channels, not counting any kind of trunk subwoofer. We've got Mercedes with lots of channels. We've got Range Rovers with lots of channels. I think I did a Range Rover a few years back that was 17 active channels. We even have Honda Civics that are 12 active channels out of the
Really?
box. The premium Civic with DTS upmixing, it's really a system that they based it's based on their Acura system. So the idea there is that you're starting with a car that has a lot of speakers, and your customer equates the high speaker count with quality. And if you want to retain the algorithm and retain the features that you've got to retain all those speakers, this is the amplifier that you want to do that with. Now, you don't have to do it with the 12 channel. And the only reason I mention that is that I know the 12 channel is going to be in short supply when we start shipping it. So I don't want to lead dealers too far down the wrong way, in that if you get the 5 channel, there are 11 DSP channels in the 5 channel. It's a 5.11. So you could actually take the 5 channel and add an external 6 channel and go to 9 channels and get the same sort of multi-channel upgrade if you need. But really, purposely, the 12 channel, because it's fully bridgeable, and a lot of 12 channels, well, I've only seen a couple of 12 channels, and most of them are not fully bridgeable. So you can actually run it as an amp with 8 symmetrical channels, and then bridge 4 down to 2 and have larger channels. And that's where it could come in really handy in the BMW, for example. You could go into a BMW and you could run the underseat woofers with bridge channels, and then you could run all the 4s and tweeters with smaller channels, and you could run the center active, and that would be a great way to approach it.
Very flexible, very flexible. Okay, just to switch gears, we talked a lot about the amplifiers and the software. You mentioned, just to understand the hierarchy of product here, is this new Forza line replacing Prima in addition to, just to help us understand how that's going to play out?
The current plan, the way that we see this working out by the time we get into late 2023, is that Prima will be a speaker line. Because if you look at Prima and you look at the number of coaxials and components and subwoofers and powered subwoofers and loaded subwoofers that are available, that's a lot of models just on its own. So by the time you get late into 2023, you're going to see Forza as the amplifier line, and you're going to see Prima as the speaker line. And we think that'll make 2 lines easier for dealers to navigate.
Right, and I think that with Forza, I think it still falls under the umbrella of how Prima has always been promoted as an OEM integration type of line, whereby that has all the features an integrator would need.
Yeah, and that's something that we've seen over the years. When we first came out with the Prima amplifiers, a lot of dealers had not seen parametric equalization before. They were not comfortable with it. A lot of them felt intimidated by DSP. We have had dealers in the intervening years become more and more comfortable with it. And so there's some guardrails inside the Prima amplifiers that are gone now. We used to prevent you from taking 2 bands and getting them too close together in opposite directions because it would mess up the phase. And we've taken all those guardrails off because we now have phase equalization. So if you mess up the phase, you can fix it. But we believe that we have a more educated and a more sophisticated dealer base with DSP than the last time we came out with a DSP amplifier line, and we think that these improved tools are going to appeal to them quite a bit.
Well, speaking of that, Steve, I'm going to lean on you a little bit for this one here. Pretty exciting product. It's all great and dandy, but we all know the type of world we're living in when it comes to delays and transport and supply and chip shortages and all that stuff. Let's temper the expectation for dealers here. What are we talking about as far as timeline, as the way that Ken described the different phases of rollout of these products?
The first phase will be late summer. So expected, I will say expected, because we're always expecting during those times. I would say late summer, so end of August, early September-ish type of scenario. If everything goes according to plan, maybe couple of weeks earlier, but technically late summer would be a fair statement.
And in the meantime, I mean, the Prima amplifiers, of course, are still available with all the different models, and really a slow transition.
There's no inventory issues right now, but
perfect.
Besides,
beautiful. What else did I want to ask? I mean, you guys have been really busy with this. Obviously, it took some time. I have a feeling a lot of brain power went into this, because I think what Audison is committing to here, like you said, Ken, is a new platform moving forward with the way I've seen the menus and how you walked us through that. So I guess the question is, why would dealers look at this platform and say, maybe this is the one that we're going to focus on, that we're going to get our technicians trained on, and this is the one that's going to carry us forward over the next few years? I want to hear why you think a dealer needs to understand that this could be it.
That is a really good question, because in conversations in past years with other professionals, we've all kind of acknowledged that nobody had their arms around the category to such a degree that they owned it, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this brand may have a really good EQ, but they don't have any OEM integration. This brand may have good OEM integration, but they don't have a good channel EQ, or they don't have a final EQ. This one covers all the different bases. You'll be able to correct the signal. You'll be able to tune the system, and you'll be able to do it efficiently. And so I think this is going to prove itself. I think the proof's in the pudding. And when somebody tunes a car out with this, they're going to be amazed. The very first car I tuned with this software took me 15 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, but what? You're Ken Ward, though. You're Ken Ward. I don't know what that really means. What does that mean, 15 minutes?
I'm as surprised as you, Ben.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So you're saying, I mean, as a trainer now, I'm going to ask you, as a trainer, do you feel that this is something that's easier to train on?
I think it solves more problems. And I think the best way to train is to say, who's run into this problem? And people will say, yeah, I mean, I have. And I say, great, here's how we solve that problem. If you aren't solving dealers' problems, then you're just up there because you like to be in the front of the room. And so the changes that we're talking about are going to really affect the outcome that a dealer ships. And it's really going to affect their business positively.
All right. My last thing that I wrote down here that I feel I need to emphasize, this new line, Forza, 100% made in Italy.
That is correct.
See, that's an important thing, because we're not talking about, and I'm not here to discredit any products that are made outside. I'm just saying it's an important message that, Electromedia, an Italian-based company in Europe, developed these products, the software and the actual amplifiers, the hardware is made right there. So I wanted to point that out. I think there's credit there that needs to be delivered.
Well, I've actually met with the R&D crew working on this, and I know a lot of them by name, although I don't speak Italian. And I'm really excited to get it into one of my cars and get it going.
No, so am I. Can't wait to hear all about it. Congratulations on the launch, Ken. I hope you had a great weekend down in K-Fest, and we can't wait to circle back once this product gets in the hands of Automob and maybe have some dealers play with it and get ready for the next round of digging deeper and seeing what we can really unlock out of this new series. So thank you so much for coming in and sharing this great news with us.
All right.
Take care, Ken. Bye-bye. Steve, pretty exciting stuff. So I know what Ken said, but I want to hear it from you. When it comes to shops, you deal with the shops. You know what it's like, right? Do you think this is a game changer for them?
Well, after all we've been through on that in the last 15, 20 minutes and those great questions from you, I mean, everything that needed to be addressed to the fine details has been. So, I mean, it will be a lot. As Ken said, it took him 15 minutes. It's Ken Ward, like you said, but technicians and shops will gain a lot in game time, in the Bay game time. So this is key.
And I'll add a little bit to that, Steve. When DSP first came out, DSP came out to solve the problems that existed then with the vehicles that were produced at that time. Since that point, automakers have, really done a lot more to original systems actives and different filters and adding amplifiers and DSP of their own. So the signal, I mean, it's the environment has changed. And I think what this is a perfect example of is how Electromedia and Audison have stayed on top of it, recognized that there's been changes and has answered, those questions and adapted to the ongoing change in the environment that our technicians are dealing with. So kudos to them for that. What is your final message, Steve? There may be dealers or Audison dealers already. They're like, yeah, I can't wait to get this new gear. There might be other dealers looking at this for the first time saying, this is pretty interesting. What do you have to say to them?
We have product, we have inventory, we have one of the best programs on the, out there, best audio programs. We did a lot of legwork in the last year for social media, Audison Canada, highlighting, showcasing our Canadian dealers.
Amazing.
And we also have the Audison Canada Dealer Group, which is a private group dedicated to help tech documents, promotions, dedicated for the shops, for the dealers, the techs, the salesperson. So it's a private group, invite only. So reach out to your reps if you're not on that group already. There's going to be a lot to come on this group throughout the year on the back half of 2022. So.
All right. Thank you for that information. That is Audison Canada, both on social media for Instagram as well as for Facebook. And on Facebook, if you're a dealer, if you're not in that group, I'll be surprised, but go ahead and check that out. It's the Audison Dealer Group for Canadian dealers. If you're looking for more information on Audison products, now I don't know at this time of this broadcast if all that new information of the new products out there yet, but it surely will be at a certain point in time. Audison.eu is the international website for Audison products. Make sure you check that out. And if you're a dealer in Canada and you're looking to get in on some Audison product in your store, maybe you like what you see, go ahead and give the team over at Automob or Automobility, we call them Automob, Automobility, a call. Automob.ca is where you're going to find them. Steve, that was a fun one. Always exciting to have new product. It was cool having Ken on, and I think this is definitely game changer status stuff for Audison and you guys at Automob. So thanks for coming in.
Very exciting news. Yep. Thanks, Ben.
Take care, Steve. All right. Well, we want to remind you to continue tuning in to CMA Networks. We are back-to-back deep still into car audio. Car audio going right through to June 14th. Some of the top brands in the biz. We're going one-on-one and going deep diving on what they have to offer for 2022. Lastly, make sure you visit our redesigned website, cmanetworks.com, where you're going to find all our videos, hundreds to choose from. Search for them either by category, by brand, or hit up my man Ken Ward. He's got a profile on there with every single video we've done together. Lots of healthy, fun information there that you should definitely take some time and look into. That's it. Thanks for tuning in to this CMA Showcase presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
Let's talk about today where I'm going to go topics.
Roll it down.
I am.
You don't need a car to listen to SiriusXM. You can listen anywhere. You know that, right?
What? Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio.
Kevin, you could use your phone.
What? What?
Alexa, play Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio on SiriusXM.
What?
This is how I know you're getting old. I guess that was it.
What?